Hello, so this is my first kind of assembly video for Skaventide. We're looking at the Grey Seer today. I hope to get around to all of the models. If there's something you'd like to see sooner rather than later, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll prioritise it. But yeah, basically what I'm doing is I'm just going through talking about the model itself a little bit and where they sit with in terms of war scrolls and all that kind of stuff. The Grey Seer itself was straightforward to assemble. Took about, I reckon it took about 8 minutes in total. A little bit of faffing, orienting the individual pieces the right way and that kind of thing. But to be fair, it went together very well. Now, in terms of the unit itself in Age of Sigmar, looks pretty pedestrian as a unit. So 3 attacks, hits and wounds on 4s, rend of 1, and a D3 damage. In terms of its other core stats, it's got health of 5, movement of 6, saves on a 6 up, and has a control of 2. Now we'll get back to the war scroll in a minute. You can see from the assembly here, everything goes together pretty nicely. The important thing when you're putting these things together is make sure you get rid of all of your the sprue marks. So where you've clipped the tabs, make sure you're cleaning up those up nice and tidily. Funny enough, this head was a real pain to put on. I had to use my mold line remover there to kind of, the little gap, the little hole that it fit into, it wasn't easy to get to, and I was worried about breaking other bits of the Mini. So I used that mold line remover to kind of grease the wheels a little bit to make it easier. I'll come back and use it again in a minute as well. It was a really tough fit. That and the base were the 2 biggest pains of putting this model together. Back to the War Scroll, he does have a hero phase ability called Warpstone Shards, and that basically means that whenever the Grey Seer is rolling in the hero phase, he can roll 3d6 instead of 2. And if he rolls a casting roll of 13 or more, it means it can't be unbound. He does, however, inflict D3 mortal wounds on himself as a result. So, very much a risk and reward and that kind of thing. There you can see me messing around with the head, trying to get it back on there properly, but it is on there. It is on there very, very well now. So yeah, in terms of War Scroll and that, fairly pedestrian, but still pretty good in and of itself. Now, in terms of the rest of the assembly, you'll see that when I try and attach the last base bits, this was a real pain in terms of getting this little base piece on here and getting it to sit nicely on top of the actual black base itself. I really had to mess around with it. You will almost certainly need some glue for this. I'm not a fan of just trusting the pieces on a push fit model. I personally like to add a little bit of glue there for some support, especially for the small pieces. But as you can see, this base part is pretty flimsy, so I definitely needed some help from the glue in order to get it securely on its base, which you'll see in a second. The issue is because the base bit that fits on the base, if you know what I mean, is very flimsy, and the connection point to the rest of the model is, there's not much to it really. But where it does actually connect to the base, there's nowhere to put some real leverage on there in order to get a secure fit. You can see I had to press it so hard I ended up losing another piece from the model, but yeah, it went on fine anyway. But that is our Grey Seer. Very, very nice, simple and easy to put together. Yeah, like I say, about 7 or 8 minutes it took me, but yeah, it was a joy. It's lovely to get into this new Age of Sigmar stuff. And yeah, if you want to see more Skaventide assembly and that kind of thing, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you really, really soon. Ta-da!